Okay. Okay. Well, the first thing we're going to talk about, look at, would be the syllabus. Hold on, it didn't move. And this is only the second time that I've taught this course. Another professor used to teach this initial course. And also we have a new director of the speech camp. So the speech camp is evolving, and the paperwork and the things that she may want might be very different than what was done in the past. So we are still sort of developing this, so there may be some forms that I might ask you to complete later on if the new director wants, a different type of form. But right now I talked with her, and this is what she wants. I also sent you an email with a letter from her. Did you get the letter from Dr. Watson through email? Good. So that is sort of giving you an outline of some of the things that she wants you to have. The only question you may have will be, about your background checks. The background checks have to be done by that particular company, and it can be done when you get here for those of you who are out of state, because in the past all we looked for was the receipt that you had it done. Okay. Let's see, anything else on that? So any questions along the way before July, please feel free to ask me as your clinical instructor. I will pass it on to Dr. Watson. I think you're also taking a course with her, right? Is that right? Fluency? Are you taking Fluency? Yes, Lakin. Oh, you're taking RT. Okay, I guess Fluency is next summer. I get a little bit confused. She's teaching Fluency to the online class. Oh, Neuro. That's right, Neuro. Neuro and RTIC, that's right. I knew you have RTIC with me, but I forgot about Neuro. Yes. So any questions regarding the clinic, you feel free to ask me until July, and of course then you can ask Dr. Watson herself because she is the director over the clinic. Let's see, there were some questions up ahead. Hold on. For the TB test, yeah, you need to have some type of doctor's report. That's all we need is the doctor's report. Whitney, no, because we don't even, Whitney, we get no record that it was received. We need the receipt from you. The only thing we hear from Tennessee State, they send the information to the university, the background check people. And the only time they tell us anything about you is if you don't pass. So we get no report, nothing, unless you don't pass. And then we get a phone call. So Whitney, if you have your receipt, that's what you need to bring, is the receipt that you actually did it, okay? And it's by the company that has been accepted by TSU, the company that was sent to you. Can't be anybody, it can't be a company that you've done it on your job, unless it's the same company. It has to have that number so that the information will go to TSU, okay? Yes, so long as you have the receipt, you are good. Yes. So bring your receipt, bring the results of your TB test, and the liability, you're going to go to the birth office and pay for that, and that is such a good deal. And you may be able to pay for it online if you call and ask them. I'm not sure if they'll take a credit card online. Oh, it's about, I don't know. It may depend on how many students are signing up, but I know last year it was $11. That was just, students had to pay like $35, and then they had to pay for membership into the national NISHLA, and I think that was another $30, so it was like $65 or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah, go on and call. I think, did she give you directions in her letter about the insurance? You didn't? Okay, well, let me write that down. Let me get you some directions on the insurance. Do you just call over there, or if there is a certain number that you need? Okay? And I will send that out to you after she tells me, how that is done. Okay, and then, and the other thing we'll talk about will be the people who need observations, but that's on the PowerPoint, and I'll talk about that after I finish the syllabus. All righty. I'm excited for you. As a matter of fact, I'm excited to meet all of you. I will be in my office, so you can come by. Please come by and stick your head in and say hi if you have time. They keep you really, really busy, and the supervisors there are really, really good. No, Lindsay. The university will only accept through them now because they have to be sure. It used to be, Lindsay, that we would allow students to do that because if you have homeowners in your insurance, you have liability. But the university will not allow that because they can't depend on other people's insurance. So they went out and got their own, and now they're requiring that. All of our students, education students, physical therapy students, any of the students who go out and work with others must be uninsured with the University of Tennessee State. Yeah, that's the way we used to do it, but not anymore. So this protects the university better. Oh, I thought I just said I would get you those instructions about insurance, about who, the directions. I thought that was on her letter, but I'll ask her specifically, the party to contact. All right. Okay, everybody. So I will get that to you. All right, so the syllabus, if you look at your syllabus, it says all these wonderful things about, how we're going to make you into excellent therapists, and that is our goal. But of course, the person who makes themselves excellent is the person themselves. So it is how much work you put into it as to how excellent you will become. We will give you the opportunity. We will give you the guidance. We will give you the information. Our students have no trouble with passing the practice. They have no trouble with understanding the information, but sometimes transferring that information that you have learned in the classroom to working with a little kid or an adult, especially those who may not want to obey you. Sometimes translating that into real life, translating academics and theory into real life situations, now that becomes a challenge. And so that's why you have to get 400 clinical hours, and that's why we slowly introduce you to clients. So this should be an exciting time. Look at Jenna. I'm sorry, Jenna. This should be an exciting time for you. But the text is by Rhea Paul. I love Rhea Paul. It is an older text, but the information is still good. You could go out and get a newer book, but it would just be more expensive. So I think, you can get the information that you need from this text without me having to go to the other, a newer edition. The same thing with the Roth. I feel our clinicians, even when they're second years, they would go through that Roth book and copy pages out of there. So these are very good resources for you to have. The Roth book will even give you some developmental norms that you can copy for, for speech development, for language development, those kinds of things. It's all in one book for you. So, and that's what Roth gives you. Instead of you having an RTIC book and a language book and a fluency book, it's a lot of the information is right there in this book. So those are two excellent books for you to have as references and on your bookshelf. Now, in terms of anything else on the syllabus, the objectives and things like that, you will be doing screenings. I will talk about report writing and setting up goals, but most of the goals that you will accomplish from the syllabus, you will be obtained from the speech camp, not through the class. I'll give you some basics about how to write a goal. I will also try to introduce you the test that they will be using. Last year, the year before last, 2 years ago, it was the Fluhardy or Fluhardy, depending on how you want to say it. I've heard it said both ways. I assume she's going to use that same screener, and because she is the new director, I just want to make sure that she has not changed any screeners. And then so you and I will go over the test in class, but until you give it, until you touch it, it's really going to have little meaning for you. So you won't have much time to study, to prepare, to give these screeners. So at least you will have heard the name, you would have known the purpose, you would have looked at some of the questions, but you will have to just, when you get to the summer speech camp, it will probably be the first time for many of you ever touching the test. But that is the way we go. Oh, did I add up this wrong? Oh, well, I will, Angela, I'll just take one of those 5s and put it somewhere else. So it'll just be 100. But primarily your grade will come from the clinic, 70% from the clinic. Most of these things, the attendance, 5%, you're going to all do that, right? I don't have to worry about that. The diagnostic assessments and that we may discuss briefly. We're not going to discuss diagnostics a lot in this class. It'll be in your next clinic class next summer. But we will touch on it a little bit because you'll be doing some screenings and maybe some diagnostics, but not many. And the age of the group of your children, I think these are preschoolers, yes. So 3- and 4-year-olds will be whom you will be seeing and screening and testing. You will goal writing. I will grade you on goal writing. I will have you do some type of assessment report and grade you on that, 5%. I will grade you on goal selection, which means I will give you a case study. Your SOAP notes, I will grade you on that as well. And SOAP notes, your supervisors will look at those, but I will ask you to submit a SOAP note to me that you have done in your camp so that I can grade it. And I would suggest that you do a SOAP note, you submit to me a SOAP note that your supervisor has just told you was excellent. So I think that's an easy way to get a good grade on the SOAP note, right? And then I will have you to do some quick presentations in which you will describe a client that you've seen, and I think most of you will be in groups, but I will decide how to do the presentations in terms of, if there'll be 2 of you on the same kid, depending on how they have you split up at the speech camp. So since, like I said, this is a new director, she has some new visions, so she may have different ideas of how she wants to split the students up. Many times, I think each of you may get 1 client, but sometimes you had 2 people had to work with a client. Sometimes you did a group of kids together. So the presentation will be, I will determine whether there will be individual presentations or whether you will present with somebody else, depending on how she sets up the camp. So basically, in terms of my grading, if you did excellent in camp, you received an A in the class, as long as you did the work in the class. Because my belief is that the camp, doing the actual therapy and doing well in that is more important for this class than if I give you a quiz or a test. So I'm not going to give you a quiz or a test. Woo! For this class, it would just be on some of the projects that you've been doing in your clinical class, your clinical externship. And then ask you to just give me an example of that work so that I can grade it. Because I know this is going to be hard for some of you because it's going to be the first time some of you ever laid hands on a real client. So I don't want to put the pressure on you by having you study for a test in this class. So I want to work with you to make this first clinic experience a good one. So there you are. Okay, now there are a few of you who have no observation hours. I have put in content now. Let me see where I put it. Hold on. It is under, I think it's under Summer Speech Camp because you'll have to show these. There is a title, there is a topic called Master Clinician Getting Started. Master Clinician is a way for you to get observation hours. Okay? Master Clinician is a way for you to get observation hours. You can get a maximum of 20 observation hours, and you will follow the directions that are listed in content under Summer Speech Camp. There are directions on there on what to do in terms of these hours. The Master Clinician will, I think it records the hours or how many times that you've been there and observed, and we can get an electronic report, but this is the way that you can get your observation hours. It does cost. At this point, it is $35 for 1 year. Now, you'll need to complete these observations, prior to coming, or as many as you can prior to, well, all 20, at least 20 prior to coming. For the rest of the year, you will have access to examples of students who have stuttering diagnoses, language. I believe, is it 45? I thought it was 45 for 2 years, Amanda. Do they separate it for grad students? That's right, Whitney. That's what we decided. Yeah. That's for 2 years. Now, it's 35 for 1 year, 45 for 2 years. Now, what we're trying to do is, we're going to discuss this on this week, to have faculty members use this Master Clinician so that you can use it throughout the year. However, for people who already have 25 hours, I'm not sure, since this is something that just came up, this Master Clinician, that it is fair to require you to pay for this as well, because you've already paid for the class. For those of you who are out of state, this is a much better investment than having to come a couple of days early and having to pay a couple of days of hotel. That'll be a day or two of a hotel that you don't have to worry about. So, we're trying to think of a way to make it much more economical for most of the group. If you already have your 25 observation hours, then please don't worry about this as of yet until we decide if we're going to incorporate it in all of our classes. But for the ones who don't have it, you will need to do this because it is a much more economical way to do it. So hopefully, most of you have your observation hours. We have some prereqs who may not have observation hours. And then you can do that at the leisure of your home. You can stop it, I think, and start it. And, it's just, I think, an easier way to get it done. And so this will be something that we will incorporate, from now on, starting in, with this class and then starting in the fall, it will be announced ahead of time for the new DE class. And then also, this may be an incentive for those, of you not to have to spend that 1 hour, which is what, credit hour for a course, if this is acceptable for our program. Now, it doesn't mean this is acceptable for other programs around the country if you're an undergrad and graduate and you're trying to decide if you're applying to multiple programs. So that would be something you would have to ask other programs, but this could help ease some expenses for students in the future. Okay, how do you get the last 5 hours? The last 5 hours you can get at our clinic, but it's so much easier to get those 5 hours than it is 25 hours. So you can get it, we have, you can observe 5 hours of clinical services in the clinic. And also for those of you who have like 10 hours, I will get back with you. Right now, for those of you who have 0 hours or like 5 hours, then this is what you need to do. If you only need 5 hours, well, everybody needs at 5 hours, everyone is going to have to get the 5 hours at the clinic, at the TSU clinic. Lindsay, you follow the directions that Dr. Watson gave you in terms of coming. But so she may have other things, at least you don't have to do observations. So that's why I sent you the letter from her, because she's setting this up. I'm just the middleman. But I will clarify on that too, because she knows about master clinician. Oh, no, Lillian. I mean, it's not going to, if you already have 25, it's not going to help you any. I mean, it's not going to help you in terms of us counting them toward it, but it's not going to hurt you for sure. I mean, it may help in that you get to see more people in action, and it'll help refresh your ideas about therapy. So anyone is welcome to go ahead and sign up for this. But because I felt it was a little unfair, because I did not state this to you prior to your applying to the program, that this would be a requirement. So we're easing all of you in, but from now on, it will be a requirement. I know, Angela. But no, if you want to, if you have those extra dollars and you want to before you come, because maybe you've been out of school a little while or that type of thing, then I would say, yeah, I don't see how it would hurt. You can also watch videos online. I mean, it won't count towards your observation hours, because observation hours have to be done through a structure. But Lillian, if you have your observation hours, Lillian, if you have your observation hours, you can always go to YouTube. I can't vouch how good those sessions are on YouTube, though, and watch some sessions. Chelsea, I will get back with you after we have our faculty meeting. For those of you who only need a few, who may need 10, right? Who may need 10 or less. If you need more than 10, then you probably need to go ahead and sign up for Master Clinician. But they will set up the requirements at the next meeting. So don't worry about it until next week. But for those of you who had 0, I wanted to go ahead and tell you about it so that you could go ahead and get started observing. And we have several people who have 0 hours. Well, Chelsea, as I said, wait until I get the recommendations from the clinic committee. I am not part of the clinical faculty, so I'm just the middleman. Yeah, and we're supposed to meet either Wednesday or Thursday, and I'll shoot you out an email. I'm hoping that if you have less than 10. That's my that's what I think. I mean, I think it should be optional, except for the people who have 0. But we'll, you know, like I said, I'm one, and there are other people, you know, other people who are involved in the process. But we will be fair, and I will want your input when I come back after the decision is made. I would like your input as a class. Okay? Any other questions before I move on regarding the observations part? Okay. Any questions about the syllabus? Oh, there is one thing on about the syllabus. There will be one meeting. Let me think. On land. And I will let you know whenever you're there, which day, which Monday. Are you there, what, Monday? 2 Mondays? I know it's 3 weeks. Which Monday we will meet on land, because I will introduce you to a test. And the only way I can get you to put your hands on it is to do it while you're here in Nashville, because it is very difficult to teach diagnostics, really, or to teach people about a test if they can't really put their hands on the test. So there will be at least once that we will meet on land, so that on a Monday night, right? And we can meet after your after you finish your clinicals. Like if clinicals only run to 3, we can meet at 4, but we will get together, and then you can go home or go whatever, you know, on that Monday. So we can, you know, meet at your convenience. And I can talk with Dr. Watson about that as to when she will be finished with you on those days. And that way we can meet early. Okay. Let's see, anything else? Please read through your syllabus. A lot of this you've heard before about some of the things that you will need. Also, please note that even though I have it outlined here on the different topics, if for some reason in the summer speech camp you are weak in an area dealing with some of the clients, whether that is a treatment, intervention, or if that's paper writing that you're weak in, then we may have to spend another session on writing, okay? Which means that this may not be followed to the T, because we need to spend that time on writing, because that's going to benefit you the most. So I just want to let you know, in the syllabus, as an instructor, I do have the right to change the syllabus. Please understand what a syllabus is. A syllabus is a guide of what we will go over in the class, and I will do my best to stick to it, but sometimes we have to stay on one subject longer than the other, especially since clinic is so important that you get it right, because you're dealing with people. No, Angela, I do not want to say. Dr. Watson will send that out. I can tell you in the past, it was, you were actually with the preschoolers until about 12. Then you came back and met with your clinical supervisors to talk about goals and writing until about 3. I think that's right in terms of what they did 2 years ago. But they may not do it that way this year, because our new director will have different ideas about how she wants it done. And and then the supervisors just came in today. the supervisors who will be working with you just started today. So they're planning right now. But in the past, I think it was 9 to 12 or 8 to 12 going to the preschools, and then you met with your supervisors from 1 to 3 or 12 to 2 or 12 to 3, something like that. Oh, the best way if within 24 to 48 hours is text Michelle. Okay. All right. So let me go through. All right. I'm going to have to go fast. And TSU email is the best also, more so than eLearn email. TSU. If you don't want to text me. TSU email. All right, the TSU contract, you will be asked to sign a TSU contract, and all that it is saying is that that you have to stay the entire term. So if you're in clinical practicum and if you're with a client, you can't say, oh my gosh, I'm tired. I want to give up my client. You know, you're with that client from the beginning until the end, unless the supervisor sees a need for a change. Also, we have the right, okay, look at this one right here, you need to pay attention. If you withdraw from the practicum course or site during the clinical term and it's not due to a medical reason, then you will void all clinical hours that you've already obtained. So that is to keep students from saying, oops, I got my 400 hours, I don't want 425, so you're going to just stop doing clinic because you got 400 hours. The entire hours will be voided because you have voided the contract. Also, if you have disabilities in which you cannot do the duties assigned, you really need to contact this office so that we can make accommodations, so that we will know. Like if you have some visual issues or hearing or attention deficit disorder, what else? Some students. So if there's something that you think may interfere, then you need, and is considered a disability, you know, by the federal government, then you need to contact this office so that we are aware, and then we can do what we can to help you be successful, okay, in the program. Because remember now, we are a family here. Our goal isn't to kick you out of this program. Our goal is to develop you into this wonderful therapist. All right, the TSU contract will also say that you'll need professional liability insurance and TB skin test results. Let's see. And you will verify with the clinical coordinator. That's just giving all of your paperwork to Dr. Watson whenever you come. Just have it all in one stack whenever you come in July. And also you need to know that client records and files are protected health information, PHI, so that it must be kept confidential. So you can't just leave a sheet of paper, you know, in the workroom with the client's name and his diagnosis there. You got to pick all that up and take it with you. Can't leave files, clinical files lying around. You got to take that up and take it with you, or put it in, you know, a locked cabinet. You will also adhere to the ASHA Code of Ethics at the TSU site and any clinical sites that you are placed on as well. Otherwise, you risk voiding any clinical hours that you have accumulated for that semester. If for some reason you have to be absent or you get sick from you know, those 3 weeks at the speech camp, you must notify Dr. Watson, who would be your coordinator of clinical externship for this case, and also the coordinator of clinical education. So that's the one person, she's two titles. The instructor, that would be me. So the two of us, and also you can include Dr. Smith as well, but it's Dr. Watson and me. We're the two that you need to let know, both of us, not one or the other, both of us. So CC me if you want to contact Dr. Hayes is primary because she's the one responsible for the clients. So Dr. Hayes is primary. I'm secondary because I need to put that in as that's part of your class participation. All right. But if you have a good excuse, and if you're sick, you have a doctor's excuse or something like that, then of course we will definitely honor that. Now, if you're on an off-site, you don't have to worry about it now. But if you're on an off-site, just because TSU is on fall break doesn't mean you're on fall break. Just because TSU is off of July 4th, but if they're working July 4th, then you may need to work July 4th with your site. So we just want to make sure that you know that. Now, for this practicum, that's not the case because it's in-house, and we're not going to be around any holidays, but it's 3 weeks. So these 3 weeks, so you don't have to worry. All right. So that is the TSU contract. You will sign that and just bring it with you. Bring it with you. Now, when you get here for that orientation, and Dr. Hayes will send you a schedule. Or she'll give it to me to send to you. I do not have the schedule yet. So she'll send you the schedule. You will have your first meeting with your supervisor. And your supervisor will have a checklist. And she will look for all of these things, these forms on the checklist. And you and we will do together before you go there. We're going to have the first 7, I think. Hold on, let me see what number 6 is. Nope, the first 5, those 5, we will have those completed for you to take with you there. Okay? So, so she'll be able to look at those and sort of see, you know, what you think about your own skills and your work style habits. So here are some other things on the checklist that you will check off with the supervisor halfway through, and then at the final conference you have with your supervisor. So there they will talk about your clock hours. The clinical contract, that might not apply unless they're just talking about the TSU clinical contract, so that will already be done. The clock hours forms, that is important to understand how to complete those because students get confused on those. The ASHA Code of Ethics, all that will be is a form that you have read it and understand, and the ASHA Scope of Practice, that you have been given that, so that you're not trying to do audiological assessments. You know that only as a speech pathologist you can do screenings, but you can't do an evaluation. And you're not trying to do things that a physical therapist would do. Okay, and then HIPAA, FERPA, this one will also be signed as well. So there'll be some things already done so that you can spend your time talking about your strengths and weaknesses and things you want to do with your clinical supervisor. The dress code, Dr. Hayes is currently writing that up, but she told me that she mentioned to you that all of you in language that you're going to be doing some type of uniform. There is a polo shirt and pants that you will be wearing, I believe, but she'll also send that information out, or maybe she'll have it that day. It'll just be that you read it and signed it. And that they'll talk to you about the due dates for your like soap notes, due dates for treatment plans, things like that. And then they'll talk to you about your absences or permission to be absent. So I have given you a little bit of that, but they'll give you more information once you're there. Okay, and then they'll give you some type of packet, and this is just a checklist of what you will get that day. So I'm trying to shorten it a little bit so that you won't be just overwhelmed. So essential functions, you can take the time to read over all of this, but this is just telling us that you have the physical cognitive skills to be a therapist. So you can critically think, and so you can do clinical judgment. You have the physical mobility. You're able to understand and comprehend professional literature in English, communication skills with proficiency in English. You're sensitive to other cultures. You're able to participate in class for at least 4 hours, blocks of time. So you're signing away saying that you can do all of these things to be a therapist. So our expectations is that you can do this. If for some reason you can't do these things, being able to concentrate, you have some visual problems that might affect your therapy. I mean, you wear glasses, that's not going to affect your therapy, but there may be other kinds of conditions maybe where you don't see colors, or you have to, you're legally blind in some way. So you just really have to let us know some of the issues that you may have and whether you're able to do these essential functions. What are your work style characteristics? And this is to help the supervisor get to know you a little bit better. Do you like to be supervised closely? Do you like a flexible work schedule? I'm just like, yeah, I do. And I think 1 is disagree, 5 is agree. And then so, do you like to take on challenges, meaning that you don't mind a case that might have a child who may have several comorbid diagnoses. So versus just a plain case or a language case, okay? So it kind of gives the supervisor an idea about you. Oh, number 7 is important. I like to be told how to do each task. Some people, like to have step-by-step instructions and for the supervisor to show them how to do it. Other people just like you to give them a general idea and then they want to figure it out on their own. So what is your work style? So that's important. And then here are some other kinds of work style characteristics. And this is just to help you and the supervisor to become more of a team, and that the supervisor can then sort of see if her style fits you, or maybe you need a different supervisor. Or she needs a different student. And I'm not sure they'll switch off really. I think you're kind of stuck with who you get, but all of our supervisors are excellent supervisors, and they have been doing this for several years with the DE students, and so they are very flexible with the students. And supervisors who were not as flexible, they, may not have been asked to return, for another summer. But the supervisors that are there are great. It's excellent. Now, there is the self-appraisal formative assessment, and on here you're going to rank yourself as either a novice, a beginning student, having beginning clinical skills, capable, proficient, and CS ready. Now, all of you are going to be novice, of course. Even those of you who may have had some hours on the undergraduate level. On the graduate level, you are novice. Okay. Now look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different levels. You have 5 different clinics. So right here, the first clinic, which is where you are, you will be novice. Okay? And your clinical supervisor can also help you with this, but most of you're going to be novice. And you can always change it if you get there and you think, and she's looking over it, and she says, well, you might be more of a 1 instead of a 0, whatever. The second clinical session, which is next summer, most of our students will be beginning. Okay? So they will be, the first one is novice, and by the time you finish, you should be a beginner. The second summer you come, you should be a beginner, and then by the time you finish, you should be capable, right? Which would mean this is a 1, this is a 2, so by the time you finish, you are a 3. You cannot go off to externship unless you are a 3 or higher. All right, so you want to get to that 3 level, because by the time you get to your 3rd clinical practicum, which would be the fall semester 2018, that is when you go off to your school site as capable. Your 4th clinical, you will graduate to proficient. So by the time you reach your 5th clinical, which is the summer, you will enter it as proficient and finish it as CF ready. So when you graduate from our program in 8 semesters, you will be CF ready in your last clinical setting, CF ready. So that means you will complete this formative assessment every time you take clinics. So you will have 5 formative assessments to do. So this first one will be novice. So take the time, between now and July and read over, all of the skills that are there and see if you agree that you're a novice. And you can talk, if you don't think you're a novice at that point, then you can talk to your clinical supervisor, and she'll ask you more directed questions, and then you can make a decision. Okay? HIPAA and FERPA. Now, HIPAA has to do with keeping private health information from individuals. And we have a PowerPoint on HIPAA, so I'm not going to read this to you today. You can actually read it. And then FERPA has to do with the educational, test scores, educational privacy of an individual. So you have the health history and you have the educational history. And with our clients, some of our students may have health issues as well as special needs or communicative needs issues, which will go into the educational kind of arena. So you will need to understand the HIPAA and FERPA standards and privacy. You got some of these also in your orientation that you took online. That was PowerPoint. If you want to go back and review those, you can. You can look at the PowerPoints that are also in content for HIPAA and FERPA. So FERPA. So that's with that. You will have to make sure that you use secure computers when you're entering data that is very private, like the student information. We ask that you not put the student's name and birth date and things like that on forms that you're doing drafts on. You can use initials, that type of thing. It's not until you do the very final report that you will put the child's name and birth date and any other identifying information. But for the draft in which you have to do revisions on those reports as you give it to your supervisors, then that kind of information you don't need to put on your forms every time. So you have to understand HIPAA and FERPA, and that's all of this is important. Also, we don't want you to be sending reports through any private emails. It should be through eLearn or TSU, My TSU, but your private email there should not be diagnostic reports going to private emails. It is in violation. Okay. And here you say just look at this, these electronic documents should contain the student clinician's full name and only the minimum client identifiers of initials and age, but not birth date. Do not use client names, date of birth, file numbers, parents' name, addresses, and phone numbers on any weekly documents, even the ones that you're sending through the TSU email system, until they're in their final form. A final form, you wouldn't email it, you would just put it in their file. All right. Okay, universal precautions. Universal precautions. There, if you look under graduate orientation, that classroom, there is a link for you to go that says Universal Precautions, and you click on that tab, and there's a link there. I think it's called Blood-Borne Pathogens. There's a link there where it'll take you to a YouTube video that you will need to watch, and then there is a quiz that you will take. All of this is under graduate orientation, and I keep it there because, well, we put it there originally because, number one, I wasn't teaching this class, and number two, that classroom stays open all the time. So therefore, you have access to the graduate orientation classroom, and you can watch that link. And so I have reopened it so that you can do this, and you'll need to look at it. Oh, that's a good question. Hold on, that's a good question. Let me ask, see, I want to say no. I think it's a one-time. But Kendra, did you do it here at TSU? Or somewhere else? Oh, okay. Oh, Angela, you're way ahead of me. Oh, we all did it last semester? Was that with me? Did I tell you to do it? I see it. I'm totally... Woo! Oh, Lord. Okay. I'm trying to think in anatomy why I would have told you to do it. Now, let me explain this to you. The graduate orientation quiz is very different from the universal precautions quiz. The universal precautions quiz should not have been opened last semester. So I think some of you are getting the graduate orientation quiz. So go under the graduate orientation tab, and under there you will see a course. It says blood-borne pathogens. Okay, all right. I will see that. So I will look in and see. Oh, did you? Oh my gosh, I am more efficient than I know. Well then, I will look. If you've done it, then all I got to get you to do is to sign that form. So if you've done it, then all you have to do is sign the form. And then once those of you who haven't done it, then go ahead and do it. And then if I see your name in there, I will just make a list for Dr. Watson. And then you bring your form in to make sure that the form and the list matches. I am so embarrassed. All right. Thank you. I was probably trying to get it out of the way. Okay. All right. So that's the universal precaution. So you got to bring that one in, that form in. So that's good. Then there's one last thing: the copy machine. The copy machine, you're only to use that for making copies of general therapy materials, therapy laws, treatment plans, and things like that. They cannot contain any private health information. You're to not use the copy center to print out your PowerPoint. All right? I'm still embarrassed about the blood-borne thing. All righty. Okay. So I want you to read over all of these little pieces of paper because it's time for us to go in the content, and just so you'll be familiar with, we can go over them again. I'll remind you again before July which forms to bring so that we can make this as smooth a transition as possible. My whole goal for this class is to help you in your clinical practicum. So any questions you may have for me, I'm very happy to ask. You can even suggest to me topics that might help you with your practicum, and we can talk about that. That's what the class is about, is to help you through this camp. So help me help you through the camp if there's something that is more urgent. All righty? Any questions so far? I think I've pretty much finished. We'll talk about this later. Yes, Angela, all of these different times. Last year we did our clinic class earlier, and that may have been, 2 years ago, we did the clinic class earlier, and then maybe that was the class asked me to do it earlier, because many times I will, if everybody can do it, we can do things earlier. But yeah, it says 5:30. Yes, it says 5:30 to 9:30, according to the course, the registration form. So that's when we will meet, tomorrow at 5:30. No, it's on Tuesday. It's tomorrow. What is that? Oh, thanks. Okay, TH. Don't confuse me, Angela. Yes, thanks. Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? Andrea, I need you to call me. Andrea Robinson. Yes, every Monday night you will come to clinic class. It's like any of the other classes. You meet. Even when you're in the clinic, in the camp, you still meet every Monday. Yeah. And you meet after that, yes. So you'll be meeting with me for, 12 sessions. Yes, Lillian, yes, 4 hours. Yes,